Tonight is the full moon, y'all, and I don't know how many people follow the moon cycles. It's very woo, but it also has a very old history of different ebbs and flows of what's going on in the world. And before we start, I want to just say a prayer for Tibet, Nepal, and all of the unbelievable changes here on Earth with the fires in Texas and the earthquakes in Colombia and Venezuela, and here in Peru, we had one that was a 6.6, I think. And yeah, this season, consistently, if people have a memory for it, it tends to be fires first, and then it tends to be earthquakes and floods. And then, yeah, it goes through into the fall where there's just this really intense shakeup after the summer. So I want to just say a prayer of peace, of people coming together, of love that spreads across the earth, that people rise in their humanity during these times. I know so many of us look on feeling helpless at times when there's tragedies and wars, of course, and all of these things happening on the planet. But just taking a moment to connect back to the body with a few breaths and set an intention, set a prayer, send love outward, whatever you want to do. I believe that there's a lot of power to that, especially in the collective. So I invite you to just say a little prayer in your heart, whatever feels right for this planet and what it's going through. Because I think you'd probably be living in a cave if you didn't see that there's just unbelievable change, transformation, horrors, and also under the surface, some beauty. So we send a prayer of love out to our brothers and sisters of humanity, the earth itself that is shaking, raining, flooding, and firing all over the place. In my opinion, trying to grab our attention, trying to connect in. As horrible as these things are, and whatever you want to label it, it's tragic, it's hard, and yeah, it's also been happening right between these two eclipses because I did talk about the moon cycle and we're on full moon, eclipse moon, and that if you have the eyes to see and you can zoom out and you can see these major patterns that happen, there's actually a lot of dots that you can connect. But enough about that stuff. Welcome in, Robert. Wonderful to have you here. And Cameron, thank you guys. So I'm going to take another deep breath. Feel free to just send that love out, send that humanity out, that unity out, that working together through these times, like the stories that come out in these hard times tend to be the ones of heroism and people helping each other and people helping each other scramble up the hill and get to safety and pulling someone out of the water. So may humanity rise in their heroism and their coming together through these horrific times. And yeah, inhale in, expand, exhale out. See it just steam off. I call it the pressure release valve. Inhale into the belly. Big, wide, blow it up like a balloon, like actually push it out. Watch it soften. Bleh. I do that a lot in sessions. People are like, how do I let go? How do I soften? How do I release? And I find that if you say relax, it doesn't work. But if you have some visualizations, like feel it melt, feel it wiggle, feel it loosey goosey, feel it drop. This is how we let go, and the body responds immediately. So I kept thinking about what I'd share tonight, and one thing for me was a little update on my life. I haven't been writing very much. I've actually been writing a lot, but not on Substack. I've been writing for myself, and I've been putting together and printing out years and years and years of writings. um, so for you guys who haven't followed along, I have been writing and journaling since I was 8 years old. I have lots of volumes that I spent the last year transcribing and holding in a filing system that's kind of crazy and super well organized and tagged so I can look up themes and stories because the way my brain works is it just comes in layers and fragments and snippets, and I just jot it down as quick as I can, thinking this will have a place one day. So I've been doing that for decades, and this year I've been digitizing the whole thing. and working out some books that it works in. Um, it terrifies me. I've avoided it for a long time. I've tried a lot of times, but I had some people come into my life that were like, "You need to get this on paper, scribble." And immediately I saw these old memories of me as a child with binders and stickers and doodles in the sidelines and notes all over and color coding and all this stuff that I used to do when I was in school as the perfectionist that I was. But I got really excited about putting them in binders and going through the pages and just seeing that they kind of turn into something tangible again because I was getting dizzy scrolling through the tens of thousands of writings that I have. Yeah, tens of thousands. I think I'm up to like 5 million words. It feels completely overwhelming, but I am starting to see some themes crystallize. So that's been a side project, main project of mine, and why I haven't been writing as much on Substack. So I am really glad to see you guys here. And I do try to keep up on all your stuff as well. So many beautiful things written and shared that have been really inspiring to me. I'm going to exhale. The other thing that I wanted to share was that this year has been the year and a half, um, so hard. So hard to balance. So for people who are just tuning in that don't know a bit of the backstory, real quick flashback. Orphan in Korea, raised in small town Pennsylvania, went to a university in California, stayed there, worked in huge corporations, left after 10, 11 years, after making it to sea level, dropped out of society, went to travel, came to Peru, started a guest home, hosted 500 people in my home, and then lived with about 2,000 over the years. Um, Started a family, had 3 little boys, moved to the jungle of Peru, where I lost all of my money, all of my worldly possessions. My partnership, my marriage, 14 years, dissolved and disappeared. And I started over again here in the Sacred Valley, where my boys are born in Peru in a smaller town, which has Wi Fi and electricity and running water, that we did not have off grid in the jungle. The jungle living was basically, I mean, developing nation, third world, highly impoverished in the cacao fields and the farms for cacao and tea and coffee. And we were deep in the jungle, about a 30, 45 minute walk from the smallest town with a few hundred people in the mountains of Machu Picchu. We were about 4 kilometers away. That was a wild 3 years of trying to scramble to figure out how to live there with these big dreams of conservation, working in collaboration in permaculture and community projects. And I was doing a lot of meditating and healing, both myself, but also others. I would just find my neighbors and people working in the farms who had twisted backs and frozen arms and accidents, and help them walk again, help them hear again, help them see again, and help them move their arms again, just very quietly. And it was all paid for through barter and trade. So I got sweaters and I got chickens, like live chickens. And I got eggs and fruit and things like that. So it was a very interesting time that is very far away from society as we know it. While living without electricity, and there was a huge strike that cut off all shopping and gas. It was just, it's taken a while for that journey to land as I've been writing and rereading the beauty of it, the old forest and the dragonflies and the crystalline springs that when my boys would play in, like Mowgli and Tarzan, naked in the water, and go on these epic hikes and pick fruit off the trees. And my boys were 5 stories up in the trees, just in love with the forest and all of its little critters and beings. And tell people they'd like bring me millipedes. Mommy, look what we found! And like I'd wake up in the morning and be like, oh God. that's really cool and wonderful. Because I was like an LA corporate girl living in the jungle, cooking my food by fire. Anyways, during that time, my partner and I split up. We had very different values, and the jungle has a way of revealing um, yourself and taking everything back to the earth, including your furniture, which went back to the earth through mold, termites, rats, and cockroaches that would like eat through the cables of things like my washing machine and things like that. So, picked up with like $200 left and restarted here. So that was it's been a journey, and it is why I'm writing books, because there are so many layers of wild synchronicities, adventures, miracles, and unbelievable hardship, and also flashbacks of horrific trauma that I experienced through abandonment and sexual abuse. And I actually went to jail, in like the hardest jail in Los Angeles, and the mental hospital, because I flatlined after I suicided myself and was dead for 3 days. So I've had a huge span of a lifetime partying with rock stars and billionaires, and being in the hardest jails with prostitutes, drug addicts, and hard criminals. Can't believe I say that. And I had this meditation that I heard, "Share Your Extraordinary Life," and I had to laugh because I was like, "What?" I just lived and did stuff, and every day felt kind of normal, as crazy as it sounds, and I can hear it. Um, but as I speak about it and as I reread the experiences that I've had, like meditating in a cave in the mountains, and having maestros from all over the world come and live with me. And maestros are like teachers from old ancient lineages. And um, yeah, I lived with Lakota families. I lived with Keros families, which live on the mountains. I lived in a Buddhist monastery for a long time. So I am 43 years old. I've been a dance champion. I've trapezed. I've jumped off of cliffs. I've lived a very full and strange life. Um, and I'm now a mom of 3 boys, a single mom starting with nothing. I shared pictures of our, like, open air truck on dirt roads in the middle of rainy season with, like, a couple side tables and some bags of clothes and some plants and some plastic chairs is what we left with. So, and it was during Christmas. So I've been processing and healing a lot, including my heart, which has always been my guidance system. So if you guys are here because I have become a channel and a medium and a psychic, which was never, ever, 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 ever my plan. I was very like grounded in science and academia and corporate world, and for some reason, it took me on a very mystical quest that then brought about these gifts that I think have always been part of me. As I look back and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I did have dreams that came true a lot. Oh, yeah, I did think of a person and then they would call. Weird." And, like, that was just normal for me, but then I realized that I would be able to tune in and tap into people's stories. Like, I met a girl in the jungle and she was telling me about a friend, and I immediately saw her and I immediately felt her, and I was like, "Oh, is her name this? And she acts like this, and she's kind of moves around like this, and this is the stuff that she's worried about, and this is her backstory." And she's like, "You've never met her." And I was like, "Oh, right. I haven't." She's totally freaked out. She's like, "How do you know this?" And then question after question after question. And that started happening more and more and more and more over the course of many years. So now I have kind of a system of understanding of what it is, how to deliver it, and it's taken a lot of time to cultivate and trust it more than anything. And then another amount of time to actually kind of come out of the woo woo hippie mystical closet, because I had grown up in academia, science, corporations, and fundamentalist Christianity. It was very, very hard for me. And while I was having dreams that I was being burned at the stake for seeing what I saw and saying what I would see, or saying, yeah. Uh, and so there was this imprint of fear to share it. So Substack's been a place for me to be more open. Um, and I've been finding such wonderful people through it that also go, I get that weird tickle. I get that weird shiver. I see things in three. That theme came up again. And our world's a very different place where the podcasters have been talking about ayahuasca for 10 years, and people talk about meditation and people talk about past life experiences and things like that. So I think the collective has changed enormously in the last decade, while I've also been on this journey with all of you. So this year has been one foot in front of the other, chop wood, carry water. I thought that was the theme in the jungle, and it was quite literally as our water shut down and I was hauling buckets and filtering it, feeding my kids after boiling it on a fire. Real things that happened. Not every day, not all the time through the 3 years. We did get a shower and stuff, but real things that happened. And now I still live in Peru, which I realize is still very far away from Western norms. So my day to day is very practical, and it's very much about helping my kids be grounded here and reconnect to society. I've shared some stories about how in shock we all were. Our systems with the noise were all very sensitive, very psychic, and um, societal beliefs and what to care about, what to think about. Their friends having tons of toys and lots of activities while my boys were kind of wild in the forest and not caring about shoes or what brands they wore, what shows were on TV or what video games. They didn't know about those things. So now there's just so many questions and framing the world for them, but also holding them through an enormous amount of grief as our family has changed and as our home has changed and as our lives got just completely upended. Which means a lot of behavioral stuff. So there's a lot of holding space for my children as they feel their big feels and staying with them, being present with them, breathing with them, equipping them with tools imperfectly. And yeah, just really honoring their experience and how hard it's been for them. Meanwhile, there's no dishwashers here. There's no dryers here for your clothes. So I'm hanging laundry. I'm doing huge mountains of dishes. I'm doing an enormous amount of laundry as I let my boys play outside and they're dirty all the time. And um, trying to keep up on baths and food runs and market stuff and learning how to use a phone again. And my phone blew up this year. My computer blew up this year. I went deaf for 2 months. I broke my fingers, which took away my ability to work. I can't believe how wild this year's been. So it's been very hard. There's also been the financial constraints, which I have shared about pretty openly here. And it's been very humbling because I have always been a person who goes, I can figure it out. I know how to use a computer. I know how to get a job. I know how to work my butt off. I worked when I was in Los Angeles. I worked jobs while moonlighting, while freelancing, while consulting on the side. I was a workaholic. And then it was years of unwinding that. But I've always been willing to just pick myself up by my bootstraps, start over again, and like hustle. And this year was really um, humbling because I tried a million things. And all I heard from my guidance system, my guides, whatever you want to call it, my heart, was write the books, write the books. Well, I'm not sure how to put food on the table and make sure my kids have what they need with that. So it's been scary, really scary. And at the same time, mind blowing when I decide to open up and ask for help because I've just had neighbors come in and watch the boys and welcome them in and give them a meal. And that does a lot for us. I've had a woman who I helped with her son give me all the furniture and appliances in her house that were beautiful, for next to nothing. I had to sell the furniture and appliances to pay for rent for 2 months. Um, not the furniture, not all of it, but, like, I moved homes and then it already had appliances, so then I was able to sell them to keep going. So I've been grinding, I've been figuring it out, I've been going, and I just keep hearing from my guidance system, "Rest," which, is also very hard for me because I say I'm a, um let's figure it out, let's get it done, let's go. So to rest and to share that it's been intensely difficult and beautiful at the same time is hard, and I'm crying on the internet with all of you. So I'm gonna take a breath and just honor my vulnerability because I didn't know I was gonna get into this. It's not my intention to, like, beg or ask for help, like, I trust God. I trust the universe. At this point, we've been caught so many times, it's almost ridiculous for me to doubt because that's been my lesson this year is like, "Megan, you have been caught a million times. It's gonna be okay." And that's been a huge shift in my foundation and my belief systems because I my boys are putting themselves to bed tonight. Just checking in with them. So yeah, I had to balance and budget and, uh, bounce a lot of stuff, and this work requires me to have time to rest and cleanse and connect and meditate and sit and do nothing, which with 3 little boys and, 15 hours of childcare a week is what I can afford right now and working on getting them into, an alternative school because they have very neurodiverse, very highly sensitive. People can label it whatever they want to label it, but it's not supported or aware in Peru. So trying to find a solution that works for them in a budget that we can afford in the timetable as we've been homeschooling while I'm doing paperwork for divorce, for school, for yeah, wow, juggling just a lot of things. So I'm gonna shake it out. I want to say, Anil, thank you. Cincy, Clint, Robert, Carrie, Michael, Sarah, Denise, thank you for being here to witness and hold space for the sharing that's come through tonight, which didn't expect to be personal. You guys know when I get into personal, it gets a little deep, emotional, vulnerable because I'm a human too. As weird as it is that I've lived these crazy, extreme experiences from hanging out with the billionaires club and the celebrities to hanging out with the people that harvest our coffee on their backs. And so many things in between. And now just re-stabilizing, balancing, and starting to strategize and dream again has been a journey. So the last couple months have felt the most stable as they have in the last year and a half. Um, there was, yeah, just years of things breaking constantly, like plumbing breaking, floods in my backyard, electricity not working, like we're still in Peru. And I have a friend that sends posts who is wonderful, and sends some gifts to help support us. A miracle and an honor to know him. But yeah, like packages take anywhere from like 1 month to 3, and sometimes they just get lost for 6 months because it's hard to explain that it's a bit like the Wild West down here. Um, there is not the infrastructure that you know of. There is not the traffic laws that you know of. There is not the supports and ways of doing things. I walk and carry everything on my back. um, Down like beautiful winding paths, if you guys have seen my notes. So, yeah, I just wanted to give an update on why it's hard for me to write sometimes or be super involved in your comments and also to let you in on my life that is beautiful. And as much as I cry, uh, it's not for pity. It's not for anything other than it's just emotions that come up, then I'm okay with that. I'm not so used to doing it publicly. Um, but yeah, whatever emotions it brings up for you, just sit with them like we're good. And it's good to feel that way for the first time in a long time. But it's nice to share with you. So, Sarah, Denise, Melissa, wonderful to have you guys here. Really, really grateful for you guys to join in on the full moon. Um, I started in just talking about the full moon, the eclipse, and for people that pay attention to kind of the ebbs and flows and vibe of the planet and humanity and the changes that we're going through right now, then we took a moment to pray and send intention and love out to people who are in floods and fires and earthquakes and war, which can tend to bring out the best of humanity, but are also wildly tragic. Then I filled you in on why I haven't been writing on Substack. That got quite a bit personal. So I'm going to re-ground and recenter and just connect in with you guys by taking those breaths as I do, as you guys know if you join in on my videos or live. So inhaling in, expanding, exhaling out, letting it kind of flow, loosen, move. Inhaling in, big, long, slow, like an ocean. As cleansing, grounding, here. Inhaling in, exhaling, wiggle your butt, feel yourself kind of land. All right. I did want to open this up for Ask Me Anythings, but you guys know that I do a bit of share, whatever comes through. Then I open it up in the comments for how are you guys doing? What's going on with you? Any big shifts, changes, and challenges the last few years? Because this has been a crazy time in the collective of huge transformation. I think if we use it and stay with it, give it compassion and deep love and gentleness, it can be transformational and good and empowering and seeing what we're made of and seeing what's not in our control and finding trust again in ourselves and something bigger and the people around us, and also seeing what we don't believe in, what doesn't serve, what doesn't work, and our values through it. So that's how I use these times and why I think I've made it through so many. uh, yeah, I want to check in on how you guys are doing. So please feel free to ask some questions about patterns, things that are going on, pains, looking for underlying root causes, because I'm here. And I mean, I hate to say this, but it's like, this is an opportunity. Like, who says there's a like psychic medium channel? Like, check it, try it, get curious, ask me some stuff, see if it taps in, tunes into something that means something to you. I have really funny experiences with people who get readings and do lives with me that I'll pick up on like the weirdest little things, little details that they don't tell people, things that would only mean something to them. The smell of books, and somebody was like in the middle of inheriting a bunch of old books from a grandfather, and knowing people's cows' names, Melissa. Um, yeah, it just has a way of being meaningful to you. And it's not something people think to invest in. It's not something people usually look for. It's not something people tend to be even comfortable with. But for some reason, it's something I do. Um, for years, I just delivered messages to people and I would hear a shimmy, shake, and feeling, and then just hear this voice go talk. It's not an outside voice, it's an internal voice, but there's like a differentiation between thoughts. So when you've meditated and you've watched your thoughts kind of go down the stream, and you can be like, oh, that one's kind of super reactive and kind of mean. And that one's, over controlling and kind of critical. And that one is like, oh, that one's just so loving and kind. Um, there's just tones of the inner voice that you can start to sort of pull apart and see like what is true. Thought I'd pull some cards to start and open up. We have a small group tonight, but for all of those rewatching, Who want a little update on me and my world? You got it. Wow. I got 3 upside down cards, and they're all quite spiritual. One is the beauty way, and that's really like Wu Wei Taoism in the Lakota tradition. It's like seeking the middle way, seeking presence, seeking the good in all things, just creating, living in love, right? That's I think most of our aim is like how do we get to this place where we have so much trust in I'm not looking for the path. I'm not chasing the path. Like I am the path. I create it. I make it. It unfolds as I go. And that trust of learning that way of being usually means lots of doubts, lots of fears, and then going through the work of is that me? Is that something picked up? Is that a program that's just been kind of running the show for a long time? So that's the inner work to come back. What's true? What's real? What's mine? What's not? Who am I? What's out there and asking those questions so that we can just start to get clarity that goes, I just seek the good to be who I am as I am with my gifts, with my mission, whatever you want to call it, and let it effortlessly flow. Now, that is a very different way than we've been taught. A very different way than we've been taught. We've been taught check off this box, do this thing, you should be here, obligation, expectation, demand, lots of guilt, lots of shame, feeling bad about ourselves when we don't hit the marks that we set up for ourselves. Like the world has taught us these things through academia, through movies, through our parents, through society's norms that usually don't get talked about. So, I mean, there are lots of layers to this work. So, to be really gentle as you just peel back the layers one by one. And I find that it's really whatever pops up, whatever the theme is. Like, there's a lot of people that say the present is the gift that you have. Like, it's all meant to be. Your every single thing that is showing up in your life is showing up for the lesson you need. Every single thing is meant to be exactly as it is. And I really believe that as hard as this has been, as earth shattering as this has been for me, it's been like ego annihilating. Like, oh, I think I can do all this stuff myself. Like, no, you can't. Like, you have to let people in, you have to see them, you have to allow them to be of assistance, come in with their own gifts, support you with their own messages, and just share it as it is. So, um, yeah, I can't pretend I've created all of this. I can't pretend I've done this all on my own. I haven't, not for a second. So there's so many gifts and treasures in these really, 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 really uncomfortable moments of hardship and suffering and spin out mind loop cycles and that fun stuff. Um, what I'm seeing being born at this time is the wild woman. So we're in this really interesting time um, where I mean, if you wanna get into, like, spiritual language, it's like, "Oh, the sacred feminine is rising," and the rebalancing of things. It's not about annihilating the masculine, it's not about toxic masculinity, it's about, like, legitimately, we've lived in a society with, like, 97% male leadership, whether it's in politics, business, like, even the patriarchal, like, kind of dominion of Father God, Creator, like telling everybody what they do through that system from the top down. Well, though, and I'm not saying that there isn't a Father, God, Creator. It's just that that's been kind of the only focus, right? So there's this other part that's like women have been corseted for how many hundreds of years and then smashing a bra and smashing clothes and pushing their boobs up to like be this idea of sexy for the world. And there's this other way of femininity that's about like I am who I am, deal with it. Like, I just did work with a client whose husband was really upset that she started farting, and she's like, I don't know what to do, like, he thinks it's gross, and I was like, I mean, it is, but also, like, did you explain to him, like, your body is cleaning itself out? And certainly you guys can have some respect and communication with each other, like, I'll step outside, I'll burn something that smells nice, I'll kick it out the side of the bed, but, like, my body has to do real stuff. And, like, men have been able to, like, pee on the side of the road outside in Peru at least, hawk up loogies and fart and everybody laughs, whereas women are like, you shouldn't do that. And there's a lot of work that I've been doing of women not taking up much space. Like there's cross legs, demure, small, closed up, and men get to like do this, and there's nothing rude and crude and gross about it. Like open leg sprawl, like take up space. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm saying if women have been smashed into tiny clothes and put into Spanx and all this stuff to be like a demure, proper lady that doesn't offend anyone. Well, that's changing. Like, normalize all the real because it's not the only aspect of femininity. There's a certain wildness of Mother Earth. I mean, we just talked about the horrible tragedies, but also like the ferocity of like blowing your top and like shaking your earth and being like, you can't just keep taking from me. You can't just take from me all your ore and your stuff to like what? Have more crap in your house to become a hoarder, to have more storage units to keep it cleaner. Like it's kind of bonkers, right? So we've gotten to a place where like consumerism is a new god and it's a new belief system, and whether people realize it or not. It's like, give me more, give me more, give me more, give me more. Like, how much do you need? Like, how much craft stuff do you need? How many clothes do you need? How many pairs of shoes do you need? Without these ideas of like, oh, I need to be in fashion. I need to be a pretty girl. I need to be impressive. I need to take a different picture on social media. Like, that's that's been pillaging the earth. And it's not just women, it's men too, but, like, here's our mother who gives us everything we need, to live, to thrive, to breathe, to eat, to furnish ourselves, to have homes, to have clothes. It all came from the earth, every single piece. And so, here's Mother Earth being like, "You can't take from me anymore." And there's this other theme, so that's fun. But there's this other theme of I cannot tell you how many women have left old partnerships with old dynamics that felt one-sided and working and holding it up and maybe if I say this, maybe if I do more, maybe if he changes, maybe and being like, "Wait a second, let me just see where you're at." Oh, that's shocking. That's horrific. I didn't wanna see it because I had this idea of family, I had this idea of partnership. I had this idea that I wanted to uphold and I wanted to create, but it takes two people. And so I've seen so many women be like, enough. And it's all over social media. And it's very upsetting to both sides, like, because we do want to come together. We do want to be in unity and create, stable families with masculine and feminine energy, whatever that looks like to you. But the truth is, if you just keep taking from a source, it's not sustainable and it creates resentment and it creates an imbalance and it creates a rebalancing that sometimes doesn't look pretty. So I got the beauty way. How do we get onto our true path? How do we live in that wu wei harmony, which is like effortless action? All things are meant to be as they are without fighting, struggling, striving, and demanding. Just be like, cool. I wanna create good, be love, and follow my true path, my true calling of the things that really bring me alive. The other one is, like, this wild woman is starting to be like, I just can't be bothered by somebody gaslighting me or taking advantage or thinking that they are entitled, like, it's just ridiculous, and I worked in corporate in rooms full of men that would be like, "Oh, sweetie, can you get my coffee?" And I'd be like, "What?" And there were and times that I wanted to behave and not be seen as inappropriate, but I was called insubordinate a lot because I'd ask a lot of questions that made people uncomfortable. And then I had to decide, like, do I play the good girl game, the yes man game, or am I, like, gonna get fired? And I did sometimes. Still had a crazy ass career, but yeah, that wild woman's great. Am I gonna tell this story? There was this time that I tuned into a woman's neighbor, who was just, like, the most I mean, anybody in the world would call her crude. I kept hearing that woman, because she was the kind of woman who would call it out. She's like, "You don't wanna know what these tits are for?" Like, They're for feeding babies. They're not for your like, "Oh, look at me." She's like, "This is what they really look like, flop, flop, after 4 children," and it's just like raw reality check. Like, "You wanna know about birth?" I was just talking to my midwife, who I did a website for a long time ago, and just supported her because she's wonderful, and it's so important that the work she does to connect women back to this natural birth process. I had my 3 boys with her, so I had a coffee with her this week, and we were talking about, like, the raw, brutal nature of birth. Like, you are in between life and death. There is, like, blood, there's vomit, there's poop, there's pain, there's screaming, there's discomfort, and it can be beautiful and orgasmic and pleasurable, and it can be horrific and terrifying and all of the things where you think you're gonna die. And it can go on for I had births for, like, 60 hours. And so it's like women are kinda going, let's get real about periods. Our hormones drop. And then we're like, I'm a little extra crispy. I'm a little extra sensitive. Like, these are not things that we have to hide. These are not things we have to be ashamed of. And like in our lifetime, it went from like, you do not talk about that. Men are embarrassed to still get like tampons or pads for their daughters. Like, are you kidding me? This is just, this is what the body does. This is natural, normal stuff. And so I feel like this reality check of like women being women. The Machu Picchu train's going by, it goes right by my house. Um, if you heard that. Women are, yeah, not feeling like they can just fit into a tidy little box, which means it's a little shaky as these energies are shifting. Um, of like, what is that no foundation? How do we come together in that with love for the masculine, which I think we have both inside. But yeah, the wild woman's kind of getting unleashed. So then the last one is this kind of reharmony medicine wheel, which is no, I'm talking like lots of ancient cultures have what's called the medicine wheel. So if you're not familiar with it, it's like north, south, east, west. And then here it's above, below, within. So it creates this circle with this line between that. Within the compass, we stand in the middle. Our place is in the middle. So people can use the medicine wheel in lots of ways. It's also the chicana here in Peru with the emptiness, the vessel, the portal, the opening. Um, and this eclipse season does feel like it's a reopening and a rebirthing of something. But these ancient practices, I mean, then you've got the 4 doors of Buddhism. I mean, it goes through hundreds of ancient cultures that people connected to the stars, connected to the earth, and connected to this concept of unified harmony within the medicine wheel. So if it's something that you want to study in on or learn about, it is something that I do open up for every reading. I actually did it before I started. I usually don't share it because I tend to be a little like, let me make this kind of accessible for people. So not everybody wants to get into the hippie woo woo. But I just visualize a sacred circle around me and I just acknowledge the directions and where I stand. Cause sometimes I have a hard time functioning on planet Earth. That sounds weird. It's true though. Um, I have an easier time connecting to unseen forces and thoughts people have, feelings people have, the backstory that people have, that all like clicks in as almost easy. And then daily practical living, like I forget to eat, I forget to pee, I forget to do stuff. Like I have lists because I can't keep it in my head. I'm dyslexic with numbers. So I can't remember my phone number. So I got cards made, like just stuff that doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but if you're a highly sensitive individual that kind of works between worlds, um, coming back and like being like one foot in front of the other. I don't know how to do this stuff. Like I was afraid of using a knife. I was afraid of fire to cook. Um, yeah, I get lost all the time. I get confused. So, anyways, opening a, a medicine circle. Really oversharing tonight. Uh, if anybody's interested, I mean, some people are still here. That's fun. The medicine wheel for me helps me just like recognize my place on earth and recognizes the elements that make up physical reality. And it's also about protection, but mostly like an intention of like, this is the work I'm doing. So it's not something I have to do all the time because it's taken a long time to not hear what every tree is saying and every mountain is saying and every single person is thinking in a room and feeling. It's too much. It's system overload. I have to go into complete darkness and quiet so I can remember who I am and where I am because I can literally tune into all of that all the time. So setting a boundary for myself of that just visualization, like, okay, this is the work I'm doing, and then like close it out, send the energy back to source, anything that's been transformed, transmuted, released, not mine. So I don't take on all of it because a lot of empaths take on everything and don't know how to clean. Um, it's my work to share that with people, how to not take on everybody's stuff, to care but not carry. I think it was Tara had said that, but really a lot of empaths just absorb everybody's crap and then we're like stuck in confusion mode, like what's mine, what's not mine, why am I feeling this thing in my knee? I'm having this thought spiral that I've never had before. That's weird. Oh, it must be this person. Anyways, so to give a little internal look and external look of my reality of why things feel kind of challenging, that there's a gift in what I'm able to see, sense, and feel. And there's this other side of living practical life becomes challenging. Like I have no sense of timing. I have to like set alarms for everything or I completely forget. I'll get completely in flow mode and nothing will exist around me. So I have to have a balance between those two sides. And setting the medicine wheel, which was the last thing, was basically my symbol and signal for that. But it's also, I'm not alone. I think a lot of people do this and they're like, oh, this is me. I mean, I stand here and I'm open to the information, but it's not me. I am supported and guided by what I call the force, universe, God, higher self, guides, all of it, and call in what is for the highest good of the person. And that's how I filter it down and funnel it down because otherwise it's too much. I had to set some limits for myself because I used to tune into everything all at once. That's too much. So I pulled those cards for y'all. I hope that something landed. Not sure why that came up. It's definitely a much more like highly spiritual reading and also kind of explaining the times right now and this moment of the blood moon. Women who bleed with the moon. It's a real thing. The cycle's 28 days for the period, menstruation, birthing children. And it's also the cycle of the moon, which used to be in the ancient calendar of 13 months, where a Monday was always moon day and it would be a full moon, half new and half. And so you would be able to know this 13-month calendar. And a lot of ancient traditions honored the 13-month calendar because they would go by the moon. So yeah, and each one had kind of a feeling and a process and something you were exploring, and it's interesting when you start asking people, like, "What's going on in your life right now? What are the themes popping up?" How in common people's stuff is, which is why these things work, that people can actually connect to that. Does anybody have questions? All of them I feel deeply. You're welcome. Sherry, I'm glad that it doesn't sound weird and you can relate. I do find that I find my sensitive souls, my friends, my family here, because not a whole lot of people get this. And I find more than anything, I connect to people who are like, oh my gosh, I don't feel alone. Oh my gosh, I don't feel crazy. When I tell people who are just very sensitive, very in tune, very intuitive people, and they're like, I totally forget to eat. And a lot of people will be like, how is that possible? What is wrong with you? Like, I never forget to eat. And I'm like, it literally doesn't cross my mind. I have to like schedule it in. I have to like bullet point it. I have to meal plan. I have to budget and then think about every single step. Otherwise it'll just kind of get lost. So, I'm doing better. And I do think it's the reason I have three boys. They help keep me grounded in here because, and they're my teachers and yeah, they're awesome. And it's also the hardest thing I've ever done, but they are very much grounded, here, present, physical little boys. So, um, I do hear "Mommy, I'm hungry" a lot. They eat a lot. 3 little boys running nonstop. Holy crap. It has to become more in my awareness, but exhale, talking a little fast tonight. I do feel the energy is getting faster. There was a lot of slowdown, a lot of rest, a lot of deep internal work. We're going to continue with some of those waves, but there's a freshness now. There's like a new excitement and creative ideas and things like that kind of coming in. So if you've been feeling like in the sludge and like, I don't even know which direction to go, I'm not even sure what I'm doing. I do think in this next week to month, it's going to be more clarified, the work to do. No questions tonight. All right. Well, that's cool. Melissa, I feel like I'm remembering how to just be human every moment of my day in spite of the crazy news. New babies bring me great joy lately. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, the news. I'll share a little about this for myself if that's something you guys want to hear. Um I was very much interested in the news cycle for a long time, but not in the mainstream news cycle, but kind of the underpinning occurrences. There were a lot of things that I think people didn't see for a long time that now they're starting to see. How banking works, how pharmaceuticals work, how the food companies work. Like these are real experiences that I had as I worked in these companies and I saw through them and I saw the lies, the cheat, the exploitation, that it's not about health, it's not about you, it's about the bottom line, it's about money, it's about control, and then the funding that moves those pieces. I have seen it for a really, really, really long time. Felt very alone in it, very lonely, not something I could talk about 20 years ago. Now, something I can talk about a little bit more. What were the driving factors of certain things? Why are these things interconnected? What does happen to the global supply chain when this and that happens? Like, I've done wildly, um, in the know for a lot of this stuff. And then I felt my anger, I felt my rage, I felt my disgust. Um, but seeing how the news cycle actually plants seeds of anger, division, and disgust, instead of just becoming the observer and saying, this is happening, this is tragic, what can I do about it? I can center myself, I can be love, I can be more light in this world. I can't feed that thing because it lives off of us feeding it on many different levels. So I do what are called thermometer checks, and I do them more and more rare. If it comes into my awareness, then I check in on how the world's doing. But I see waves happening. I see cycles completing, if that makes sense. So I try not to be too in the noise of it. I tell people, step back, be the witness, notice the patterns, notice the trends, notice the cycles instead of reacting to every single thing. So Sherry just asked, how do I not completely check out? I mean, there were years I was checked out. There were years I lived in avoidance because it was too much all the time. And I personally believe after living in highly active society and totally immersed in reclusive in nature, um, we were never meant to have a world this noisy, this bright, this loud. These are all new things in the last generation. We used to be outside. It used to be the sounds of nature. It used to be a slower world. And so I have to very consciously find my own pace with it. I am outside a lot. I sit outside on my my stool, and it's also part of the reason I had to learn the body work, that my path was to learn how to embody instead of just live in outer space, but really bring this information energy down to become movement, to become action. Because I think a lot of empaths and a lot of hippies, they swim up here, oh, whee, ideas. But when it comes to living, that is the hard part, and that is with gentleness landing, with a vibe that works for you, because there's a lot of things that aren't gonna suit you. There's a lot of things that are gonna overwhelm your senses, overtax you, so I have to pull back from time to time from social gatherings. Like, my boys were like, "I don't like parties with a lot of people. I don't like this kind of music," and I was like, "Thank you for telling me." They're very honest about how it feels in their body, and I'm very honest about how it feels in my body, but you have to be in your body, and this is where most people don't know how to come back to their body. So my bodywork practice is really gentle landing. Don't overwhelm the system because otherwise you fly off into outer space. So a lot of trauma, a lot of highly sensitives, a lot of neurodiverse people, everything's too freaking loud. So in my house right now, there's the most lights I have on for this, but I usually have one tiny incandescent light. I carry around a little lantern that I put only on the warm light and on super low because I don't even want to turn on the lights and jolt my system. I turn off my Wi-Fi at night. I turn down my music. Like, I listen just a couple clicks to where I can hear it. And my personal I guess discovery or awareness of it is that when our whole system is being shouted at and shattered, we can't hear the inner voice because the inner voice is quiet. When we're in thoughts spinning around, we can't hear what the body system is guiding us to do to be healthy and well. We can't live in the flow state when we're not here present. So this has been my life's work, is like, how do I carry this information and the many layers and information that I see, and it's focus, which is also hard for me, and that's a certain meditation practice, a certain focus on a bodily sensation, a certain focus on the breath or a feeling or a piece of information that I want. Because if I don't do that, I can go to infinity and beyond. So I have to ground myself in my skin. I actually have to say to myself, I'm here now. And I look at my feet, stomp my feet, and feel the sensation of my feet, just so I know where I'm at. Also, I open the circle north, south, east, west. Okay, I am directionally calibrated and tuned in. It's like it's getting my bearings. So when people have over flood of information, I have to turn off the screen. I have to turn off I can't watch shorts. It feels like an attack to my system. Being outside with bright lights feels like it's sharp through my eyes and it's cutting through me. So when I meet people who are highly sensitive or on the autism scale or on the ADHD scale or whatever scale you want to say, but they're just really, really highly sensitive people, I'm like, turn down the inputs, slow down the pace, slow down the breathing, don't overtax the system, and then focus in on one thing, which for me is the breath and the physical sensations. Then I ask for guidance, not from all this, because that wouldn't work. It doesn't work. Um, so that's how I don't fly off into space. And um, yeah, connecting the dots and what's going on in the world and grounding yourself in your own reality. Because remember, this is a black mirror. It is literally, guys, look at your screen. Like, it's, yeah, it's dirty, smudge, but it's a mirror of things within ourselves, but things outside in the world, right? And we get to choose what comes in. So people are like, "Oh, don't be addicted to your phone and don't do this." But like literally it's feeding you. You're consuming it and it becomes you. So that's where the mirror gets a little bit wonky where I can't watch like blah 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 blah, blah like 2 seconds of this, 30 seconds of that. I don't know if any of you are old enough to have the channel changer. Is that what it's called? I don't even have a TV or a remote control where people would like channel surf and be like, "Dee, dee, dee, and like no thought would finish. No thought would finish. And it made you feel like you were going crazy. Well, now that's all of the content, all of it, except for Substack, which is why it's annoying that the feeds are getting more and more noisy and more short. But I like the long form. I like people that can sit for an hour or read something or turn other things off or close other tabs, which you might not be. That's okay. But I have to do that or I lose my way. So, take that or leave that and with gentleness because I still have a bunch of tabs open sometimes, or I still have multiple things on. But now I can't even like listen to a podcast and make food because like my son will come in and then it's like three inputs and I'm like, oh gosh, I have to go outside for a second. So yeah, I've learned to navigate, but also ask why. Like, why do we get overwhelmed? And I really think that the modern world with this fragmented, I call it fragmented energy, where it's just all over the place, our attention is pulled in so many directions that at some point, check in and see when I turn this off, do I feel better and more clear? When I turn this off, does my anxiety go down? When I turn this down, do I feel more present? That they truly affect our physiology, our mind, and our emotions. Yeah, too much of a barrage of noise can shut you down, Sherry, and like you can't hear your inner voice. I just completely relate. And to listen to that, not everyone will understand it. They don't have to, they don't have the same experience. Um, but to be able to communicate it and be able to honor it is very powerful. And I do know a lot of highly sensitive, psychic, channeling, whatever you want to call them, individuals, they live out in nature because the overwhelm of the echo of everything off of the surface of glass and steel feels bonkers. Like I can literally feel things reverberate off of walls, and like feel the electricity moving through the walls that I have to like power down and then like reconnect. So if that makes sense to you guys, or you felt crazy or misunderstood or too much or complaining about stuff, but like I can't, if I get into a certain car and there's like a fragrance, I immediately feel nauseous. So I have to like be like, okay, this is temporary. I can breathe. I will have a fresh breath, and then I just value fresh air so much more because my body feels the neurotoxicity. Like, there's studies that show synthetic fragrance is horrible. People douse themselves in them. Cleaning products, shampoos, all the things. It's crazy how much they're just dousing themselves, um, with all of these synthetic and toxic chemicals. I mean, it's bonkers. And when you actually cut stuff, so like the reason a fast works is because all of a sudden you taste the food and you can taste what tastes really good to the body, so fresh, so delightful. And then it's like it's a reset for the system. So people can relate to that. Whereas if you're just constantly bombarded with like sweet, salty, spicy, and then you can't really taste things, um, when you have a fast, it resets. So when you have like a digital detox, all of a sudden you're like, wow, I like being alive. And I had this synchronistic conversation and I had this thought I haven't had in a while. And these memories came back. Then I got excited about this activity. Like there's a certain amount that we've just gotten so normalized to a certain amount of inputs that when you shut down some of those inputs, and I don't think people have to go on a massive fast or they don't have to do a digital detox or do like, but like as a curiosity, I do a lot of social experiments rather than like demands on myself. Or they like, what happens when I turn my lights down at this time? What happens when I pay attention to my screen time? And if it goes over a certain level, I realize I'm not doing well. What happens when and then I'll just do little tests with myself and micro changes. What happens when I cut coffee and I don't feel shaky? What happens when I go to sleep at a certain hour? I'm still working on that one. I'm not good at it. But I find that you're s most people actually do have a high level of sensitivity. They just are numb to it and then they crash rather than testing out like what's actually affecting me and where. So you can start to tune that dial for yourself because it's going to affect you in different ways. What happens when I cut back on sugar by half? What happens when I don't need to buy something every time I'm in a store and just become aware of it? What happens when I check in with a thought and I'm like, oh, wow, that's pretty people pleasy or controlling or critical or judgy. And you just start to be really curious with it rather than this like, oh, I need another practice. I need to optimize. I need to hack. I need to follow these steps. I think that totally doesn't work. And that's the world we're in right now. I tend to be like opposite. Not sustainable. You won't learn anything from it. Well, you can. You can. If you're doing it with a certain intention and self-awareness, like those things absolutely can work for you. But I find just a genuine curiosity to know yourself, which is kind of the thing every spiritual practice teaches. It's like, no, get to know yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Like, and the only way you do that is by changing some variables and not changing all of them because then you won't really be able to see what's working and what's not. So I'll be like, what happens when I go outside and sit during this time of the day? What happens when I spend more time outside? And I just try to pay attention to the shifts within myself and what feels good and not. So yeah, you asked how can I not completely check out? It's hard, but it's a practice, and I'm glad for the grounding because that is how we create change in this world. If we're not here, we can't do anything. So, um, I was telling my husband that the barrage of noise makes me shut down. I read that one. At 43, you've been here for the fastest stack of changes in the last 100 years, and those changes are still stacking. Expecting it helps. Yeah, I mean, I had a vision that, like, these are biblical times. These are times of massive transformation and transition. Even just from, like, think about the history of dinosaurs. You got, like, millions of years, right? And then think about, like, how many thousands of generations of people were, like, farming or hunting. And then it was just like, "Oh my gosh, we have a TV. Oh my gosh, we have video games. Oh my gosh, we have a cell phone that people can access us anywhere. Oh my gosh, I have a smartphone." Like, "Oh, there's satellites like, it went blah, 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 along with just you can access any place in the world. You can translate any language with an app. It's bonkers how much global change. So as we stay centered and still and to expect it, that it's I actually laugh. I know this seems maybe insensitive, but sometimes I have these cackling moments of truth where like this is we chose to be like front row seats for this wild transformation of the planet and within. And I actually find it deeply exciting. Um, like I lived in a time when there was no cell phone. And then I lived in a time when nobody questioned anything. Or like there are a few like outskirts. And now I find people can have very deep and real conversations about highly controversial issues. They haven't learned how to like not fight about it or like take it personally yet in some cases, but like when I was growing up, there was no conversation about GMOs. Like, that was not even controversial anymore. Like modified foods and, like, frankenfood and, like, massive sprayed pesticides. Like, those were just, like, what you did. And that happened so quick. Post-war I love history. I won't go too bonkers on it, but yeah, we are in a time of massive transformation, and everybody can see it if they just go, "Whoa, in the history of humanity, we have never had this much crazy stuff happen," and be aware of it with this mirror, this screen. So, I find it exciting, I find it illuminating, I find it transformational, I find it terrifying at times, sure, but I think there's a reason our fear comes up. What's within our control? What's not within our control? Why is it happening? What's my part? These are the questions to ask through this to move through it with grace and learn to surf the waves instead of get, knocked on your butt and drown. I didn't mean to laugh. I meant that metaphorically. It's not a sensitive because of what's going on in the world. That came off incredibly insensitively. I see things on multiple levels, and so I'll giggle about things that are seemingly inappropriate, and that's why I really enjoy hanging out with other highly sensitive people because you know that it's not that was not a personal thing. It was a metaphorical thing in my mind. Anyways, feeling awkward and uncomfortable. I'll just call that out. Raquel, wonderful to have you here. Maria, wonderful to have you here. Gonzalo, Vergara. All right, did you speak Spanish? Anybody speak Spanish here? Um, I do notice I have a few people from different countries, Spain and Mexico. Michael, Sarah, yeah, Carrie, really, really glad to have you guys here. So I did open it up for questions, comments, what's going on in your lives. so I can pull cards, so I can channel information for y'all, but this one seemed like a winding, random, weird story time kind of live, which I didn't quite expect. We get you. Oh, guys. Thank you. One of my big themes is belonging. I have lived in very extreme, different parts of the world, socioeconomically, culturally, with an Asian face in a very white area, being like the whitest Asian in Los Angeles, whatever. So I've been between worlds, and my perspective between worlds tends to be very observational about patterns and why, rather than just like clicking into them and being like, this is what I believe too, because it's not. So it's been a really beautiful journey, and I realize why I've jumped between worlds so many times. Not comfortable to be the outsider. And so a big theme for me is belonging and being here where people are like, I feel totally overwhelmed by the noise of the world too. Yes, the news and the what reality um, is a very interesting conversation, and being the controversial one in the room is an interesting one. And I call it like the pot stir or the shit stir. That in my eyes, a lot of times things seem very obvious and and, like, normal in my brain the way I see it, but then I can also step into the perspective of another person who is like, "That's insane." So, yeah, to find a sense of belonging here where people get this multi-level perspective thing, this metaphorical thing, this seeing too much and what do I do with it thing, and then how do we ground center and stay on the path. Living a weird, wonky life in a wild, changing time, guys. This is what we're doing. This is what we signed up for, if you believe in that. And if you don't, everything's happening against you, and that's got to be hard. But I tend to see that everything's happening for me. I chose to be here. What an interesting experience. Didn't remember I signed up for all this stuff, but here we are. Um, and it's fun. So I'm glad you like my random stories. I have so many. I mean, I can get into story time if you want. Living with a guy who got kidnapped on a pirate ship, that happened. Um, yeah, getting invited into, like, the CBS billionaire's son right next door to the Playboy Mansion. Another story. Sitting on a mountain and having the entire thing melt in front of my eyes and hear, "What is reality? What do you believe?" Be like, "Huh, that was weird." Um, seeing, like, visions of dragons and yeah, I have got lots of random stories of, yeah, jumping out of planes, jumping off of bridges for, um, bungee jumping, and then, yeah, being in jail. So I'm just for you guys who weren't here, one of my big projects right now is to work through some of the writings that I have been, for whatever reason, called to write since I was 8 years old. Never thought I was a writer. Uncomfortable writing, but then when I'm in the flow, it's just it happens. But now being like pulling those pieces together, transcribing all of those pieces is just this incredible work and a deep dive on my own reflection of what's happened. Because I can't even keep it all straight. Is my son up? I'm being a bit loud, and we have a little house, a beautiful house. Um, okay, well, I think I'm gonna end it kind of early tonight. You guys know if you're here before I go, I don't know, hour and a half, hour 45 minutes, 2 hours. But if you guys have any questions, put them in now. I'm farting, by the way. I'm just sitting here. So that's exciting. Wanted to fill you in on that. um, feel free to let them out. Let's normalize all the farts in the body processes. I'm in for whatever you write. So excited for your work. Thanks. I I I was gonna say I am too, because I never know what's gonna come out. I really wanted to get better at, like, pre-posting, and I have so many stinking stories, but, for a long time here on Substack, I was doing what's called, like, file roulette, so I have, like I said, like, 10,000 files or something, more than that, where I'll just, like, scroll in the thing and then click on one and just post it because I couldn't be bothered. Now I'm trying to put some more structure. My son's up. He's not supposed to be up. He's literally waving from me from the hallway. They've been really good at like, "Mommy, we'll put ourselves to bed. We'll brush our teeth. Night night, hugs and kisses, and then go to bed." But tonight I could hear them stomping around and doing their thing and sneaking about like little ninjas and spies. So I don't have a whole lot of one-on-one time. If you guys do want to schedule a healing session or a reading with me, I have right now such a compressed time that I have to sit and focus in a private space. I currently work in public cafes during the time that I have childcare because my boys are here and eat lunch and then go on outings. And then if I have a scheduled time, sometimes I can get the house and they go on an outing. But it's been a lot to maneuver time and space to be able to write and do this work. So right now I've committed to our full moon Substack lives and I offer free deep dive healing session for all of my paid subscribers. So I normally do a paid session for $200 to guide people through their body pains that are connected to their emotions, that are connected to belief systems, and then work them out physiologically using a system of drainage. And so, do you want to come in now?
Alright.
Come on. What are you doing up?
There's a moon eclipse.
There is? Is it red?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. You can watch it. Are you loving
It's in
it?
like in a half an hour.
Yeah.
It's in a half an hour.
Are you all up or just you?
All of us.
Okay. Are you going to sit on the patio and watch it?
There's a moon eclipse tonight. It happens in like an hour and a half, and it's been like an hour since he said that, so.
Yeah. Well, you guys have been pretty quiet. Thanks for letting me work.
We're gonna see the red moon.
Okay.
Okay.
You want to,
Bye.
Oh, nope. Okay. You can sit on the patio and watch the moon. Oh, man. My boys, they go to bed at 8 o'clock on the dot. And I was like, what are they doing up? Of course it's for the full moon. My little Peruvian I was gonna say weirdo kids. We laugh. We have a lot of conversations of like, "Mommy, I don't think our family's normal." And I was like, "What is normal?" I'm like, "Yeah, but like people do a lot of things the same and we don't do them." And I'm like, "True. That's totally true." And we were just talking about how I was like, "When do you feel safe to be yourself?" And I was like, "Here at home." They all said here at home. They're like, "People have a lot of things like, there's bullies and there's girls that act all cheeky, and it's all very confusing, but we can always feel, um, home here." And that was really beautiful to hear because I doubt my mothering and not doing things in traditional, normal ways. Like, even our schedule is different, homeschooling, living in a foreign country, being half Asian, children in Peru that remember their past lives and talk to spirit beings and want to stay up for the for the eclipse of all the things that they want to be up for. I was like, "Why are you up? That's so weird." But it's a blood moon, so they want to see it. They want to feel it, and I support that. They never really asked to stay up, so that's fun. You guys got to hear him. He's very intelligent. My kids are very intelligent in very different ways. Alex reads like literature and has a vocabulary of a well learned 40-year-old man. Liam has got a very engineering brain, very linear thinking, but like very, very inventive. He's an Aquarius and yeah. And then Julian is just this like adventurer storyteller. Like he'll tell me about the craziest things that he visualizes from his planet. And like, yeah. He just tells me epic quest stories that I try to get down. So each one is very, very different. They I was just talking to somebody about schooling, and I did look into traditional schooling. There's a lot of military kind of Catholic schooling here in Peru from the old colonial ways. So it's a lot of marching, a lot of like very dogmatic teaching methods, and a lot of like still corporal punishment and like shaming children. And then they're out marching during like holidays and festivities at like 11 o'clock at night full of people plazas with drunk people, and it's hard to think of them being in a school. There's a part of me that was like, to feel and know and experience that so many people have here, I think is valid. And I don't want their curiosity and their hearts and their wonder to be smashed. So yeah, trying to find a solution that works for them, for me, to the best of their development and what they have to learn on this planet. But yeah, they want to stay out for the whole moon, which is really cute. Uh, as I'm like, witchy stuff, full circle. Because guys, I don't think you understand like how normal I wanted to be like for so long. I really wanted to be a normal person. Normal, nobody is at the end of the day. Everybody's just hiding it. But yeah, it was a deep desire for me. So to be like, here's my tapestry and my crystals and my ukulele and my, you know, flowy hippie clothes. It just, I have to crack up at old Megan who did not want any of these things to be true. Um, they, I know, I know that they know that. So excited about it. Yeah. Such a blessing to have me as their mom. Thank you. My sons actually, I tell this story. Yeah. My sons all like right as we would go to sleep, and for years, they would get into like a full channeling remembering mode. So our nighttime routine was always really, really special and still is. And only recently have they like, we're going to bed on our own, mom, because we do like meditation. We talk about the day, we talk about our feelings, we'd read. We had a nighttime routine, and then boom, they'd go to sleep, and then they were out in 5 minutes. I was like, the only thing I was really good about being consistent about was like our nighttime routine. And they're amazing sleepers and they have like wild prophetic dreams. But all of them said at different times that they remember being on the other side. They remember the journey here. They remember the life they chose. They remember the mission that they had when they got here. And they remembered picking me as their mom. And Alex actually had this crazy thing where he had like very specific details and places um, that over time he would repeat with new details. And then I ended up being in that place during this lifetime. And then both of us were like, like time and space don't exist because he saw me on the other side in a specific airport with a specific trash can that's colored and said I was hiding behind the trash can, saw you and knew I wanted you to be my mom. Then I had to go in an airplane and I was in a airport and I was like came back home and Alex was like, I was there with you. I wanted to know what you were doing. I wanted to know if you were okay. So I went there. And that was the moment I remembered that I wanted you to be my mom. But that happened before I was born. And we were both like, I don't even know what's going on. So yeah, they've been telling me stories like that for their whole life on top of multiple experiences of like psychic channeling where we had a friend that was lost in the mountain and my 3-year-old son knew where she was, what she was wearing, what her name was, that she decided to change her name and only her closest family members knew it. um, when she had fallen and when they found her body, because we had a dear friend who got lost in a mountain and my 3-year-old was tuning into what was going on with her. And then there was another girl lost in the mountain, tuned into her, knew she was blind, knew she was lost, and actually still knows they were never able to retrieve her body. And he says, I know where it is. And we actually went up there. I can't believe I'm telling you guys this and putting it out on the internet. but it was behind this area that they closed off, so they had been searching for her for years, and he remembered the plant, he remembered the viewpoint, and he was sure of where it was, but we weren't given permission, and I'm taking my, like, 10-year-old kid up a mountain to go look for a dead body. This is a real story I'm telling you guys. I don't share this stuff very often, let alone publicly. So yeah, to be their mom and to trust them and to trust their intuition, they are like they're wild. They'll bring in manifestations almost immediately. When we were between houses here in Peru and we were really far out of town and we were on really crowded buses carrying all the groceries, hiking another 30 minutes to the house. Very, very challenging first like 4 months here. We moved to a place closer to town and closer to friends. And I asked them all, "What do you picture in our home?" And each one of them had a very specific request that they had seen, and it was like, "I want climbing trees, I want a basking rock." They're these big rocks that we like to lay on and build stuff on and stargaze and watch the clouds. It's just a big flat rock, right? And there were a lot in the jungle, and they'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go lay on the basking rock, mommy." I'm like, "That's the cutest thing ever." "Yes, go bask." And so, Liam wanted a basking rock, and Alex wanted a river running through our backyard. I was like, "That sounds lovely. I really hope we can do that." And they remember the magic more than I do because we showed up at this house after visiting quite a few places, and I heard, "This is your home." And I was like, "Too much, too fancy, too nice of an area. I can't cover any of that right now." Because we were living in literally a one-bedroom, dirt floor, aluminum roof, wide open building in the jungle, and we got here and I was just like, this is so wild." And there was a basking rock, 2 climbing trees, and a water channel running through the whole yard, and they play in it every day. So, they just they bring stuff in. "Hey, mommy, I want a cookie. Mommy, I want a cookie." I'm like, "I don't we're not gonna do a cookie right now." We go into a cafe, and this girl's just like, "Your boys are so cute. Do you all want a cookie?" Boom, 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 like, it's impressive. Or they'll have a thing of like, "Mommy, we need a fire. We need a fire." And I'm like, "All right, we gotta get you guys know what's needed. You guys know what we need to prep." And they're like, "Okay, we're on it." I'm like, "Okay." So we'll go, and then all of a sudden, it's just this release of, like, something beautiful about sitting around a fire, and if you don't do it, I highly recommend it. But we would just go, toast marshmallows, toast stuff over the fire, and sit around, hang. One time, like, our neighbors came over and sang and got out the guitar. Another time, we had some neighbors and everybody just like, cried around the fire. They're just and it was always a full moon. I'd be like, "Oh, we're doing a full moon fire. What are you guys doing?" So tuned into things that I am not even aware of and just manifesting stuff. So I haven't shared too much about my kids. I did share that my son remembered his mission to teach everyone on earth the language of love, the language of life. That's what he told me when he was 4 years old. And people were like, "He can't speak like that." And I was like, "You guys have no idea. He's been speaking full sentences since he was 1." My kids are so verbal. Um, and he just yeah, and I've been reading to them, and I never read them, like, silly books with, like, no vocabulary because I think kids have the capacity to learn, and when their brain is in genius mode, I would read them, like, very complex adult vocabulary, but, like, children themes, but not dumbing it down. Like, The Little Prince. Have you ever read The Little Prince? They used to write books not as, like, "A is for apple." They actually wrote meaningful, thoughtful, deep profound vocabulary, books, and so I would read stuff like that to them since they were 2, 1, and I was always reading to them, so by the time they were 3, I mean, they were just very coherent, thinking, speaking kids. So, yeah, I guess I did go on story time about my kids, but I've talked a little bit about their tuning in and tapping in and manifestations abilities, but I've kept it pretty, low key. my my partner was actually really scared, I think, for all of us, and really wanted us not to talk about much. And I think for a really long time, I took that on too. But now, I mean, I just have to be me. I have to be truthful, and I feel called to share more. So, and now I don't have that pressure and worry and, worry in a sense of protection, but like, I don't know, I feel safe and protected as I am with the energy I carry, I guess. So I've just been sharing a lot more about things, like visionary and prophetic dreams and things that I see happening and layers that people don't see. And my kids, yeah, they really, blow people's minds sometimes. They'll just, like, look through their eyes and just say something, and somebody will just start to cry, or like, their face will be like, "How did you?" And we've kind of gotten used to that, so my sons and I are aware of the oddity of it, I guess, for people. So, for you guys who weren't here, my kids stayed up late so they could see the full moon, which is just funny because 'cause they're not they're like clockwork with bedtime, so that's fun. Ruben, hi. Radical Patient, hi. I mean, I opened up the chat for you guys to ask questions to get channeled information. If you just want story time tonight about weird, random ramblings, I'm happy to do that. That's what I've been doing for the last hour and a half. But I did open it up, and for all of you guys that are still here and can understand these sensitivities and find it curious or interesting or really relate to it, I'm so grateful for you. 'Cause I got so many random stories. I will start posting more of them. So for the people that do the reading, I will do some more story time on my Facebook. For you guys who do want deep dive healing, I do offer it once a month now for paid subscribers that you tune in and you ask questions and you get into what pains you and you get into we get into karmic stuff, we get into collective stuff, we get into like very personal stuff, and it's been nice to get to know this community and build a community there that we get to know each other, see each other's faces, realize we're all like learning things at the same time together. It's really been beautiful. Okay, I've only done one, but it was awesome. How do I connect to spirit guides? Let me see how I want to frame this. Spirit guides are always connected to us. That's really like we are being guided, spoken to all the time. And it's through our intuition, it's through our synchronicity, it's through like what are the chances that song that's just been playing that theme in my head, the song that I wake up to in the morning, that number pattern that I keep seeing, like they're speaking to us all the time. So how to connect to that for me, it wasn't like, oh, I'm talking to X spirit. I'm talking to X angel. Like for a long time, it was just following things happening in three. If something happens and it just dings, I don't know. I have like an expression of like it just lights up in your mind. It just noted like, and then it happens again. Where like another friend will be talking about the same thing. We're like, what? I was just talking about this morning. How did you? And then you'll have another thing where you'll see a thing in your Facebook feed or your Substack feed or whatever, and you're like, "Weird, we were just talking about that." That I call is like spirit pulling your attention in to be like, "This is the work right now. Pay attention." Noted. Light up. Ding. So I use things in three. I use chills where it's like you get that little shiver that like, "Ooh," somebody says something and it's deep and profound and, "Ooh." And then the other one is like that thing that hits that it just feels true and it like makes you cry or it gives you the shivers where it just hits like deep within you. Pay attention to that. It's not accidental, it's not random. It's our guides, God, universal life force, higher self, whatever. I use a lot of names. I say, one, my intention is love and my intention is truth. Because if it's for power, if it's for comfort, if it's for safety, those things can pull us in a lot of weird, wonky directions. If it's for love, if it's for truth, and if it's for the highest good of all, not just me, but the highest good of all, I set that intention that that's the only thing I work with. That's the only thing I'll listen to. Because there are a lot of things that people get pulled in different directions where they're like, I was doing a healing session for a guy, and we were doing some channeling work, and he was hearing a guidance, and I was like, "Whoa, is this for the highest good?" And I was like, "You need to hear a resounding yes." And I didn't hear it. It got sneaky. It started getting really sneaky. And I was like, "This is for strength. This is for strength." And I was like, "Sorry, that's not love. That's not truth. That's not for the highest good." And I was like, "I'm not working with that one." Because that gets twisty. And it was really about like strength and power over people, which is this dominating, like taking energy. And I was like, no, that's not the same thing as pure love that cycles in reciprocity. And so I tell people when you're working with the unseen realms, um, there's no like non hippie language for this, but like when you're working with that stuff, ask, is this for the highest good of all? Is this love? Is this truth? And there's not my truth, your truth. It's like, is this the highest truth? So I talk about truth in this whole conversation of my truth, your truth, as like, there's something that exists. Now, people look through filters, lenses, pinholes, whatever you want to say, and they might see a part of it. So, like, I'll use the pinhole one. Maybe one person's looking through a thing here and another person's looking through a thing here. From their subjective experience, they're seeing a truth, a layer of truth within their subjective experience. One person's like, I see a blue flower. The other person's like, I see a handle. And then they fight about it, right? Beyond that filter, there's a teacup with blue flowers. There's a thing. There's an actual thing. So the highest truth is the thing that is. It's the essence. It exists. Now, we use a lot of names for these things. We use a lot of vocabulary. You'll see I layer a lot of stuff on meaning because it's about the highest truth. But at the end of the day, there is a highest truth. There's certain universal laws, universal concepts, highest truth, at least for me. So when I'm seeing layers of truth, it's about understanding and diving deep. Why does this exist? What is it for? Anyways, I don't know why I went into that, but I do think it's really important because there's so much that's still ego. That's like my subjective truth, my subjective truth. And it's like, that's a part of the whole truth. And I think when we get beyond that, there will be no more division and fighting because it's like, okay, maybe I'm not seeing it all. Maybe I need to allow myself to see more. And that is the expansive process. How do we work with our guides? Invite them in, get to know them. So like that sounds kind of weird. First, they're always around us. They're always trying to talk to us. They talk through synchronicity. They talk through significance. They talk through chills. They talk through body sensations. They talk through knowingness. How to do it consciously, because that was a shift for me. Then it's like, I want to get to know this plant because that's still a guide for me. Everything's a teacher, all of it. So let's just talk about it in a physical thing. I want to get to know this plant. I want to know where it grows, if it's in the sunlight, if it likes water, how it smells, what it's used for medicine. Like, I want to get to know it. So I'm going to spend some time with it. Does it do well with it as grown from a seed? Does it do well in like really dark soil? I want to kind of just form a relationship with this plant. The more I form a relationship with the plant, the more I know the plant. So I can just sense it. I can smell it and be like, oh, that's rosemary. Um, Oh, so purifying. Oh, so clarifying. I use it a lot for like foot soaks because it's purifying, clarifying. It just drains toxins. So like that's a physical object. But I find that working with the unseen realm is the same thing. it's like it's like, oh, I keep seeing this thing with like Archangel Michael. What does that mean? What does that mean? Go look it up a little bit. Go say, hey, Archangel Michael. I do a lot of that. Hey, God. I'm not like, let me set a candle and do a whole thing, an altar. It's very, like, friendly. It's like, I know you, so I don't have to be like, "Bow to you" thing. It's just like, "Hey, Archangel Michael, if you keep coming in symbols and signs for me, I wanna understand what you're about." So Archangel Michael is about truth, it's about life path, it's about protection, it's about clarifying information. Like, there's certain things that is already sort of known about this concept of a guidance system. You can name it, it can be called a thing, whatever. It's a thing that exists that you just start to get to know and you start to tap into. So then I'll get like a feeling, I'll get a certain shiver. I'll get a certain thought process that feels like it's a different cadence. Like for all of you writers and poets, like people have a different voice. Like I can tell a writing from one person on Substack from another because they have a cadence, they have a voice, they have a feeling. They use certain symbols, they use certain language. Working with the unseen realms, the same thing. Is like I'll start to just have certain thought patterns and feelings in my body that feel very Michael-y or that feels sort of star system. Like this one feels otherworldly. And then there's another one that feels like a little buzzy bee. So like the more you and this is like where the ancient ones used to call it right relations. Like it's a relationship. Each thing that you tune into, tap into, get to know, it's like, I want to know you. I want to get to know you. I want to understand you. I want to listen to you. I want to feel you. And you start to feel using that guidance system that you've been using for the physical world of like, I like this plant. I like this tea. I like how this food tastes. You would do the same thing, but you would focus on I am getting this feeling that there's a guidance system from my guardian angel or from my um thing of many names. Like God has infinite names. It comes in many threads. It's all part of oneness and life force. So each thread that comes in that's applicable to you. So like some people say you have a guardian angel and then you've got a few spirit guides and then you've got an ancestor team. It sort of just depends on the relationship you build with them. So, I hope that was helpful. It's really about starting to trust what's going on in the antenna. I call the body the antenna because I never meant to do this work. It was just that the more I cleaned out my body and got to know my body and healed my body, which also wasn't my intention other than I wanna feel a bit better, and I kept asking something, how do we feel better? How do we feel whole? So I would have these questions, and then those questions would like guide me down a path. And then that path would like reveal multiple patterns. And then as the body antenna got more clear, I was like, ooh, I'm getting chills. Ooh, I got that weird like flick thing. Or now I'm feeling like really like a heat. And I would just stay with it. I would be like, "What's that heat? What is that telling me? Why is that happening?" And so it's a process of familiarity and relationship and right relations to start to work in these unseen realms. It sounds so mystical. It feels so practical and so literal to me. Thank you, it helped. Okay, cool. I'll stop rambling about how to work with spirit guides. Yeah, if you hear a name and you're like, well, here's a good example. My son, we saw I'm gonna share this one too. I cannot put this one on YouTube. Whatever. This is for my Substack peeps here on live. We saw these light beams land in the sky in certain points around Machu Picchu when we were there. There was a lot of deep energetic work happening. I was watching them and they glow different, and they have these color variations. Like when your eyes start to get clearer, you physically start to see more color, more crispness, more detail. And I've done a lot of healing sessions with people where they're like, "Am I seeing better?" And I'm like, "Yes." That's what we were doing. So, you can see these pulsations and this frequency that was a color pulsation, and then I would watch them move because 'cause I'm outside all the time, so a relationship with the sky. I would see that the shadows were different. I would see that the light pulse was different. And then I was just sitting with it being like, "Whoa." And then I was hearing, like, there's star beams that are coming down and hitting certain energetic ancient places and just kind of filling them with light and with love. And, there's a few different people that have kind of confirmed this in the channeling world. But there were certain, yeah, beings, star beings, entities that were landing, and I was connecting to them, but my sons were connecting to them. And my youngest son kept talking about his friend, George, my friend George. And I was like, my boys have always talked to their spirit friends forever. And like a lot of kids have invisible friends and people make fun of it and then you get rid of it or whatever. But they've all been very connected to different support systems, guidance systems. And I've always been like, cool, go get to know them, have fun. If it's just their imagination, whatever. It's just a normal kid thing. If it's something real, go explore it. I never told them what to do. But I also didn't like smash it down. Anyways, so my son is talking about George. And one day I was like, wow, is that Venus? Is that like I was looking at the stars with the moon and it was so bright. The pulsation was so bright. And it's like the moonlight was so bright. So you would think you couldn't see it, but you could see it and it was brighter than anything. And he goes, oh, that's where George is from. And I was like, whoa. And then I got this crazy download of information. And then I immediately looked up the word George, and in Greek, it's earth keeper, earth keeper, which then got used as farmer later. But I was like, caretaker of the earth, earth keeper, farmer, my friend George, Jorge. And I was just like, whoa. And then we just started connecting with that thing. So it might not happen that way for you. The star that you saw land on Machu Picchu, and then your son called it out as his invisible friend's rocket spaceship. But that's how it happened for us. But I do find that, like, at least when I was starting this journey, it wasn't that ridiculous and obvious and strange. It was like this feeling of like, I need to connect to my ancestors. I got to connect to my roots. I don't even know what that means. I'm adopted. Like, so I just started following that thread. And then somebody landed at my house with the I Ching, and then I cried. And then I got a reading, and I heard my ancestors all come in and be like, you know, this language. And I was like, what? That's a weird thought. Like, I had a lot of that for a long time. That's a weird thought. Who thinks that? Huh? What does that mean? And I was like, jot it down and then not really think about it. And then later I'd be like, "Whoa, I kind of like, something's talking to me. This is strange. I'm, like, crying. I'm feeling so many things." And then I just started studying the I Ching and then going back to the I Ching, and then later I would feel actual ancestors with me that would, like, pop in my head as an image. There's this one guy who's, like, this old, like, caricature from a movie of, like, the man on the mountain with a white beard who would laugh at me a lot and, like, hit me with a stick. So, like, I would have things like that just pop into my head. So, people say imagination is manifestation, our inner eye, our third eye, our dream state, that those mean something. I personally think that they mean something, so just give that more curiosity. You don't even have to have faith. I say don't have faith in it until you follow it enough to go, "Oh, there's something to this." Like, there's nothing I could say, some crazy woman in Peru, uh, there's nothing I could say to make you believe that that's real. So if it's something that resonates with you and that you've been like, "This is really interesting," then just follow that. Like, just enjoy the journey to follow that. I used to be really tuned in and then got started living in my head. A lot of people do. I mean, I think we're all tuned in. I think all children talk about the things they feel and seeing grandma in the room and like, and people are like, don't talk about that stuff. That's scary. And blah, blah, blah. That's a weird thing to say. Oh, it's nothing. The thing on your bed is nothing. Like, we just kind of got like pooped out of it. And then life and practicality and not making space for this inner world. I think it's a thing that you cultivate, and it's totally fair that you lose it or get disconnected. I mean, this year, as I've been like, Megan has to be practical, Megan, and get things done and keep my kids fed and in clothing and with a roof over their head. Like, I got really practical and I was having a harder time tuning in as my heart was hurting. So, yeah, it's taken me some time to feel like I'm a clear channel again because there were some really murky, confusing, I feel like I'm kind of lost. I'm farting again, so that's fun. Times. Raquel, it's my first time here. I came in late. What are the things we can do to help shed collective oppressive energy right now? It feels so intense and overwhelming and unsustainable. The earth needs healing, but the leaders are doing the opposite. What are the things we can do to move forward towards healing in the collective? What a wonderful question. What a powerful, profound, enormous question. I'm sorry it took me so long as I was on like spirit connection. Nobody wants to hear this. It's the opposite world. Okay. Be the peace. I'll get deeper. Hey, buddy. I just wrote the candle. Oh, is it for Alex to read? Yeah. Oh, for tomorrow morning? Actually, yeah. Yeah. We're staying up until the solar eclipse. I heard and I approved. Alex came in to check in. I'm actually taking this off for him so he doesn't go to sleep. Oh, he wants to read more. Okay. That is really thoughtful. He doesn't go to sleep while he's watching for us. We're gonna watch some movies to entertain us, so until this eclipse. So we don't go to sleep. I see. Thanks for letting me know. Okay. My boys want to read and watch a couple of movies to stay up for the solar eclipse. We don't do New Year's, but they do want to see the solar eclipse. That makes sense. That's fine. They never stay up this late. They're usually in bed at 8, but I just think it's so cute and right, so that's fine. How to, collective energy right now. Because this is really powerful to know the power that you have to change from within to without, from inside. Like, okay, so I'm gonna share the first I Ching tattoo that I got. The first I Ching tattoo, the only I Ching tattoo, the first reading that I got. The reading that I got was so profound for me because the revolution begins within. Anything you want to see in the outside world starts within yourself. So we don't pillage the earth when we feel like we have enough. We don't feel like we need to prove something when we know I'm good as I am. We don't hurt people because we're not regretting every single thing we do and acting from shame. Everybody thinks it's them, it's them, it's them, it's them, it's them, right? How did our leaders get into the positions they are? They were elected by the masses. And maybe it's not you and that's okay, but it has been the other side, and both sides are two wings of the plane. And honestly, they're all driving it in the same direction. It's just they get everybody to fight and to get distracted so they forget their power. You can take that or leave that. That's very controversial to say. People get really, really into the identity of politics. It's another identity. It's another ego level. So when you don't need to one-click pay Amazon and get another billionaire to have another $1 billion, they don't have power. When you don't need to be at a job that you hate that feeds the same system, that system doesn't have the brightest minds because it's creating a different world. When people become whole within themselves and can be at peace with themselves, not lying to themselves, I'm totally fine. No, you're not. I have enough. Why do you think you have to say that right now? When we can truly know, like, everything is happening for me. Everything is a lesson for me to uncover, recover, remember what it is to be love, what it is to be part of the greater collective, what it is to be family with oneness, what it is to be family with the rock on the ground. You won't need the extra iPhone. You won't need the extra tablet. You won't need the extra thing distracting your time because you're with it. You won't have the cobalt mines tearing things up, causing these massive instabilities in the ecosystem. It's all connected. It's all connected with our choices every single day. And when we can realize that power, oh, okay, I talked about this before. I'll talk about it again. Collective time, collective energy, collective resources. People have no idea the wave, the massive collective energy wave this is. How many hours was spent on the World Cup? Watching it, ads, creating the ads, playing the games, the practices, the travel, the expenses. How much collective resources went into one event? And for the Super Bowl, and for March Madness, and for every video game created. How much collective time and energy goes into streaming, scrolling? How many hours of Game of Thrones were watched? 60 billion. I did the math. 60 billion man hours. 60 billion man hours. You want to see change? Redirect any of it to love, planting a tree, being kind to your children, planting a seed, making something creative, being encouraging to someone, loving yourself, resting, all the things that will build us up, help us feel full of energy, vibrancy, excitement to be alive, instead of just draining it away. Draining my 8 hours today so I can have this streaming service and this Netflix payment and this, thing delivered to my house that's going to sit in a corner, and then I'm going to use it 2 times and then I'm going to sell it. Or it's going to sit in my basement. How much? How much do we need? And it's not out of judgment. It's just how it is. It's just how it is. So everything's connected. Your purchase for the iPhone, my purchase for the iPhone was mined minerals from a developing nation, putting a child in slavery. That's all happening. Certain chocolate that you buy, putting a child in slavery, not being educated, staying in poverty, not able to create change in his community. It's our choices. And our choices that come from insecurity, lack, fear, comparison, judgment, what I feel like I should do, what society tells me to do, all those things. So when we go layer by layer and we go, what do I need? What's important? How does this work? Then the glaciers aren't going to melt, which are going to cause the massive flood that goes through. Because there's a stability that happens when you're not building massive concrete forests that create heat up areas and then cutting all the forests that would actually absorb the water. And all those forests are for more homes, bigger homes, more stuff. And all those cities grow because more homes, bigger homes, more convenience, closer stuff. Heat wave goes up, glacier melt. You cut off all the old trees. You only do pine. Pine is highly flammable. Pine grows super fast and dries out the environment. Pine is the stuff used for every single cheap furniture that you'll have out there, and every cheap stick and drywall house. It wasn't like that. People lived in small, cozy, simple buildings where they didn't take more than they needed. They had a place to sleep. They had a place to gather. They had a place to eat. They didn't need room after room after room after room that sit empty, full of furniture that they never used. It's our choices. It went out of balance. We forgot that we're connected to the earth that we live on, that it provides everything. So when we don't need this stuff, and we're not paying it to the politicians, and we're not paying it to the billionaires, and we're not paying it to the people that make these decisions that are awful, that are just keeping us trapped, the whole world changes. And you redirect just a little time and money. One concert for Taylor Swift, if that all went to creating permaculture projects and actually funding people on the ground doing things that are meaningful, every one of those projects is struggling. There's one idealistic dude who's willing, who's out there, who's digging, and they feel alone and they feel scared. There's a girl, Makeda, in Jamaica with her family, living off grid, taking care of the land, and she is struggling to pay her bills. I was doing the same. Nobody showed up when people were willing to do the thing because they're so busy paying for all this stuff that they don't need, that's gone in a flash, that's out of season, that goes into a landfill. Why don't we have money? It all went to Bezos and Netflix and Disney and the companies that are making these decisions and paying the politicians. I went on a tear, didn't I? What's up, baby?
Yeah, if you're done the solar eclipses, yeah, you should come up onto the balcony.
I would love that.
So you can see the solar eclipse with us.
Okay.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao. I would love to. And my son's invited me to go to see the solar eclipse on the balcony. So I'm going to go do that. Yeah, so we want to see the change, we be the change. It seems oversimple, but it's because everything is highly interconnected and our actions significantly affect the world around us, whether we realize it or not. So, um, we can we can blame other people, but, like, just think about how you spend your time and where you wanna spend your time. Think about how you wanna change everybody else or you just wanna be the happiest, most vibrant, bright light that you can be that illuminates things that the truth is the truth without judgment, without criticism, just what do we need? Not that much. The true, like, joys are in the simple things, aren't they? So yeah, it's a real deep dive on what matters to you, why, where you're putting your time and energy, and what you wanna see in the world, and then be it. And that grows. Love grows, light grows, it illuminates the darkness, and it feels very counterintuitive, and we wanna blame the whole world, and we wanna say it's everybody else's fault for this consumption, but truthfully, it's madness out there. And I have 2 pairs of shoes, and I have all secondhand clothes and secondhand tech, and it's just the way I live, and I am doing great. And, like, I've had some moments of shame and humility and humiliation even from having that stuff, but it really is my values. I make my own I dry my own herbs, I buy them, I support the local businesses, and, like, you can't do everything. You can't go bonkers, you can't kill yourself doing it, but, like, check in and little by little. This was the course of 15 years, 20 years of really going tiny bit by tiny bit by tiny bit of choices. I'm gonna get a water filter and get a instead of getting any kind of bottled stuff. I'm gonna, you know, flush my toilet only after a poop. Like, I just made tiny incremental changes. Oh, instead of getting the plastic thing, I'm gonna put it in a glass bottle, I'm gonna dry it. And over time, they became a muscle memory thing and a routine that I didn't really think about it. And now there's some things I'm expanding back out on some conveniences as I've talked, but, like, yeah, I mean, if everybody uses half the shampoo instead of the huge bleh, just use a little and see that it still scrubs your hair, you're gonna have half the plastic bottles. You're gonna have half the payment towards a one-click ship that it gets shipped to your house or that you have to drive somewhere. Like, all these materials are real, all these resources are real, and when it starts to become a collective movement where it's not blame, it's not shame, it's not push it. Just be it and be like, actually, I'm happier because we're saving a ton of money. We're not stressed out about the thing. Our house is cleaner than it's ever been because we don't have so much crap. And then we have all this time and freedom left. Like, wow, that feels kind of nice. And then Bezos was like, why is my income going down? Why do I not have as much sway politically? Like, it's connected. All right. My boys want me to see the eclipse, so I'm gonna sign out. Love you guys. That was a random one, but nice to spend time with you. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Carrie. All right, boys, you wanna say night night?
Oh, Mama, by the way,
Yeah?
the
Okay.
eclipse.
The eclipse?
I'm not sure if it's gonna happen because it's happening or something. But anyway, the moon's disappeared. I'm not sure what's supposed to happen. Is
Okay.
it supposed to turn red or is it supposed to disappear?
Well, it depends on how much coverage there is. This time it's only gonna be a blood moon, meaning it's partially covered, making the light frequency red. So, we have to check. It is visible in South America, but we have to check what time it happens. Alright, good night, guys. Sorry. Gonna have this
So you
conversation
know about
offline.
it?
I do. Yeah, we'll look up just some more information and see the timing. Alright, night.
It might have already.
This is my life. Bye.
It might have